Legendary.
Welcome to another video, guys. I'm Crystal5 and today we're gonna talk about the top 5 Hearthstone decks for September in 2019. The nerfs really did shake up the meta a lot, so this video should help you in choosing a great deck for climbing ranks. Like always, I will give you an overview of each deck, their mulligans and matchups. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to drop a subscribe and a like. It really helps the channel a lot. Now, let's get into it. As I predicted in my last video, after the nerfs we saw a drop in players playing Control Warrior, and Mage is totally out of the map, even though Cyclone Mage players are still doing pretty good with it in High Legend. The lack of control decks led to aggro taking the wheel. By the way, if you were wondering how much dust I made from my tips for nerfed cards from last video, I made over 13k dust. I opened 3 extra Doctor Booms and 1 extra Galaxy from 40 packs, which was quite lucky. So if you still have some gold laying around, you still have 6 more days to open Boomsday packs for a chance to open extra nerfed cards. Anyway, onto the decks. I'm sure nobody is surprised Murloc Paladin is at the top of this list. It was a solid list before, and it's even more solid now. It has a lot of win conditions, and you can cheese out your opponent with crazy boards as soon as turn 4. A lot of people say that you only need to get Lens in order to win with this deck, but most of the time you will win without even getting the Lens. The deck is very well rounded, and you get to curve out nicely just with your Murlocs alone. Sure, the Lens helps a lot, but if you don't get it in time, you can still take the game just from your Murlocs. The deck has an amazing early game and mid to late game as well, so if you don't kill your opponents with Tip the Scales, Zephrys and Nomi are there to seal the deal. Also, don't get discouraged if you have super unlucky games with the deck. You will high roll a lot with this deck, but there will be the occasional game where you get both your Tip the Scales and Prismatic Lenses before turn 4. I even got that horrible hand last night on stream, but overall we did good with the deck. Here's what the matchups look like. Warriors, Warlocks and Shamans are kinda unfavorable matchups for you, and Token Druid is a bit on the harder side too. Other than that, everything else is pretty good for you. The mulligan is pretty easy with this deck as well. Most of the time you will throw everything in hopes of getting the Lens, but keeping Tight Colors and Murmies is also something you should be doing. If you get a nice curve going in your mulligan, it's not a bad idea to keep it. And if you're against Priest, I tend to keep a 1-drop and a Toxfin so I can deal with their early tall dudes as well. Overall, the deck is pretty solid, and if you enjoy it, I think it's not a bad craft. I do suspect a second wave of nerfs coming in 3 or 4 weeks from now, which might hit either Lens or Murloc Warleader again, so keep that in mind. Next we have Combo Priest. Again, I did say in my last video that I don't believe that the extra arms nerf will kill this deck, and indeed Combo Priest is still smashing, sitting at tier 1 at high level play. The deck is still pretty good, even without doing any changes to it, but some people are finding more success with beaming sidekicks instead of the arms. Holy Ripple is also finding its way back into the deck with so many aggro opponents, but it's up to you if you want to include it. There are so many micro synergies in this deck, and it takes a while until you understand them all, but it's a very rewarding deck to play, and it's not at all expensive too. Pyromancers are really shining right now, and it's really crucial to utilize them to the max in this aggro meta. Here are the matchups. Fast decks like Murloc Shaman, Tempo Rogue, Aggro Warrior and Zoolock tend to be a problem, and Hunter Secrets aren't fun either, but other than that you should be good. Even your bad matchups aren't that bad when you master the deck, so don't get frightened. These win percentages are getting skewed from unexperienced players, and since this deck has a very high skill cap, you can do a lot better results than this. For the mulligan, you always want to keep your Cleric, Light Warden and injured Tol'Vir. If you already have minions in your hand, keeping Power Word Shield is also pretty good, and Circle of Healing can also be a keep in specific scenarios. If you're going second, an early Amet is also great as well. Against aggro decks, Pyromancer is a must. I still think this is a great deck to craft, so if you enjoy the playstyle of this deck and you wish to put in the hours to master it, you should definitely try this deck out. Moving down from complicated to pure and simple, Murloc Shaman. This deck successfully transitioned from the old meta to the new, with minor adjustments. Before it was a super expensive deck, but now it's almost considered budget, since we don't run the expensive mid and late game package anymore. It's a fast aggro deck with a token feel to it, and you can take a lot of games with it, and fast. This is also a tier 1 deck in the current meta, and it has all the Murlocs you need for Murloc Paladin as well. It is lacking card draw, but the Underbelly Angler is making up for it big time, and Tasty Fin is helpful as well. You can take the game by chipping away health from your opponent, or bursting him down with the help of Soul of the Murlocs and Bloodlust, so you have to decide if you want to trade so you can keep your whiteboard or you want to go face. Your worst matchups are Control Warriors and Token Druids, but anything else is okay or pretty good for you. You don't see too many Control Warriors nowadays, even though the deck is still pretty strong, and I haven't seen Token Druids in a while too, so you should have no problems climbing with this deck. The mulligan is pretty straightforward. Tidecaller, Mermie, and Underbelly Angler are always a keep. If you already have a 1-drop, you can afford to keep other 2 and 3 drops as well. Sludge Slurper is an okay keep, and an early Toxfin can also come in handy sometimes, but other than that, you mulligan everything else away. The deck is not too expensive, so if you want to climb some easy ranks, I'd say it's a good craft for you, and you can make it even cheaper if you cut Scargill out, since he's not that essential. From cheap and simple, now let's move down to expensive and complicated, also known as Quest Druid. When the new expansion came, a lot of people were excited for this deck, but it didn't turn out to be that good then. After the nerfs though, things really changed. Quest Druid rose to the top of tier 2, and people are even smashing with it at the top of Legend. There are a lot of decisions you need to be making with this deck, so it's not easy getting used to, and it's one of the most expensive decks in the current meta too. You can find cheaper versions of the deck without Nomi and Zephrys, but so far pros are finding the most success with those two included. I'm not a big fan of the inclusion of Nomi, since you will very rarely find yourself at the end of your deck, but it's nice knowing you have one more game plan in your bag of tricks. You can find a lot cheaper variants of this deck, but if you have the cards for it, you might want to try it as it is. Matchups look something like this. Faster decks tend to be a problem, but if you manage to stall out the early game, you should have no problem to seal the deal later on. Mulligan-wise, if it's under 3 mana, it's probably a keep. The best keeps would be Innervate, Crystal Merchant, and Wrath. Expedition is not too bad, and Nourish is very important for your mid-game too, so you might want to try to hold on to that one. Do I advise you to craft this deck? Well, with a price tag like that, probably no. But if dust isn't an issue for you, and if you enjoy the Druid class, then sure, why not? It's a great deck with a high skill cap and a lot of variation. And the last deck on this list is Aggro Warrior. This is another fast deck with a lot of interesting synergies, and it's quite powerful in the current meta. It's really annoying to play against, and things go out of hand pretty quickly. The main card that enables this deck is the new Bloodsworn Mercenary. With it, you can have insane boards as soon as turn 3, and if you save it for later on, you can have crazy bursts with it instead. This particular version isn't too expensive since it's not running Grommash, but if you have him, you might try to fit him in as well. It's doing quite well, and a lot of people have used it to Legend and beyond. Your only bad matchups are other warriors, but you really don't see that many of those after the nerfs. Other than that, you should be pretty good against any other class. With this deck, you always want to keep your Towncrier, Rover, and Temple Berserker. The new Lance and the Mercenary are also great keeps most of the time too, especially if you already have a 1-drop. Flunky is also pretty good, especially if you're going first. All in all, I think the deck is pretty solid, and if you enjoy fast games and the warrior class, I think this would be a perfect fit for you. It seems like it would stick around for a while, so I'd say this would be a safe craft. Other decks that are also pretty strong are Highlander Hunter, Zoo, and Highlander Warlock. Quest Shaman is doing okay, and Control Warrior is still seeing a decent amount of play too. Even Mech Paladin is having a good time in High Legend right now. There are several other decks that ain't that bad either, but overall, their win rate is lower than the ones I mentioned so far. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed this top 5 and this new format I'm trying out. Thanks for watching. A like and a subscribe is always appreciated. I'm Chris05, and I'll see you in my next video.